Welcome back, True Seeker. Is my audio sound okay for the people in the chat? Let me know if my audio is okay, and we'll proceed because today is the 40th anniversary of Prince's Purple Rain, released July 27th, 1984, the year of years. All right. I'm looking at the chat. I'm waiting for a response. Make sure we're good to go. All right. Thank you, Charmed One. Again, 40th anniversary of Prince's Purple Rain today. And sadly, if you weren't here in 2016 at the time of his passing, shout out to Jeff Young. If you guys aren't familiar with Jeff Young, one of the guitarists of Megadeth, he's a friend of the community. He was out pounding pavement with us in Los Angeles last spring, trying to get out the word about this knowledge. And actually, Jeff and I met last year on the anniversary of Prince's passing, April 21st. But again, I bring up Jeff because him and I did a radio show together. He had a radio program. If you want to look up Jeff Young's radio show, Music Without Boundaries, we have an episode from February 2016, shortly after the passing of Vanity, who was Prince's girlfriend at the time of Purple Rain. Remember, she died the day of the 58th Grammys. Vanity did at the start of 2016. That was the year that was going to end with the 58th U.S. presidential election, the one where Trump won and Bill and Hillary came out and conceded in purple. And you might recall at Trump's convention, they talked about how he came out to Queen, "We are the champions," and Prince died on the Queen's birthday. Anyhow, we're going to bring all this together. But we have a video from February 2016, sending a little warning out to Prince, just saying, man, with what they did to Vanity and the way it lines up with Purple Rain and what goes on in this world of celebrity and just suspicious deaths at relatively young ages. I mean, Prince is born the same year as Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, another shocking death on George Orwell's birthday of all days. If you didn't know that, Michael Jackson did die on June 25th, George Orwell's birthday, who wrote 1984. 84 was the year Purple Rain came out. Infamous year, big year for MJ. MJ had a lot of big years, but 84 was a real big one. And anyhow, if you go back, you'll see that Vanity did die the day of the 58th Grammys, February 15th, 2016. I put out a video that day showing how it looked like Prince could be, he could be next. And Jeff Young saw that video. We did a radio show. It's saved on his platform, Music Without Boundaries. Again, I've had 20-some channels deleted. So the recording from February that year where we're talking about this before Prince passed, you can still go back and listen to that. Go back to February 2016 in the archive for Music Without Boundaries, Jeff Young's radio program. And you can listen. You can listen to what we were saying way back then. But anyway, Prince did die sadly. In his death, the news broke the day of his reported passing, April 21st, which was the Queen's birthday. And again, there were so many things that were interesting about it. Prince had the big hit song on Purple Rain, "I Would Die For You," and he spelled it with the number 4 and the letter U. And you look back at that in 1984, that was pretty forward thinking because not a lot of people were writing like that until the texting age. A number 4, a letter U to shorten up for you. But he had it that way. And then what's weird is U is the 21st letter of the alphabet. So I would die for you if you just turn a U to 21. And that's the old gematria or isopsophy practice. It's gematria in ancient Hebrew. It's isopsophy in ancient Greek, the practice of going numbers into words. Again, I would die 421. And Prince dies on April 21st, the date we write 421 in the U.S. But yes, that was the Queen's birthday. And one of the things that happened that day that caused confusion, and the news even had to address the confusion and how it was possible, Niagara Falls on the day Prince died was lit up purple. And people were like, whoa, how did they have this so ready to go at Niagara Falls with the news just breaking about Prince's death, Mr. Purple Rain? And they came out and said, oh, no, this wasn't planned for Prince. This was planned for the Queen because it's her birthday. a lot of Queen has a lot of land, including in Canada. But yeah, they said it was for the Queen's birthday. But then what was interesting is if you looked more closely at it, again, Vanity had died the day of the 58th Grammys. Then Prince had died not long after April 21st on the Queen's birthday. Where was Vanity from? Vanity was from Niagara Falls. If you look it up, Vanity won the beauty pageant when she was coming up in Niagara Falls. That's her hometown. So you could just see this progression in the story. Also, just other things that happened around that time. The 90s group PM Dawn, one of their members was called Prince, and he died. And when he was dead, the media had him all dressed in purple. It was shortly after Prince passed. And then Prince from PM Dawn is dead. It's kind of like the Astro World tragedy as the Astros lose the World Series to the Braves. And then Astro from UB40, they just, all these things happen within a matter of hours from each other. Just an overwhelming Astro. Again, with Prince, it kind of got like this too. And that year, LeBron won the NBA Finals on the real King James's birthday on June 19th. And remember, King James, royalty, the Queen, Prince, a term associated with royalty, the son of a king, the prince. But that year, LeBron won the finals again on the real King James's birthday. And that was shortly before he goes to the Lakers, which are originally from Minneapolis, which is Prince's hometown, where Purple Rain is set. And you associate purple with Minneapolis, right? I mean, their football team, the Purple People Eaters, the Minnesota Vikings. Purple's associated with that town that Prince is from. But that was also the year, again, of the election with Trump. And Prince had that song, Black Donald Trump. Again, Vanity dies the day of the 58th Grammys. Trump announced from the 58-story Trump Tower that he'd run in the 58th election, which he eventually won. And then he hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day. When Prince died, he was 57 years old. But when you turn 57, you begin your 58th year of life. Just like how when you're born, you begin your first year of life. And then you eventually turn 1. And then once you turn 1, you begin your second year of life. And then you turn 2, begin your third year of life. So when you turn 57, you begin your 58th year of life. Prince did die 47 days shy of his 58th birthday. His birthday is June 7th. 47 matters in light of the election. Well, it matters in light of a lot of things, really. 47 is a special number. It's a number of authority. But Trump equals 47, like president, like White House, like government, like authority, like Republican, like Democrat. The word radio is 47. The word news is 47. The word rock is 47. Technically, Prince is a rock artist, but you could make a debate that he covered a lot of genres. His music's very diverse, but he'll go down as a rock artist in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And rock's just got that 47 into it, just like a name like Led Zeppelin. And we could, again, so many musicians base, a lot of their artwork and concepts around the ideas of Aleister Crowley, who died in the year 47. Again, the Masons studied the 47th problem of Euclid. Anyway, the Masons. Masonry is based in Kabbalah. A component of Kabbalah is gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. Again, in gematria, purple rain equals 58. Purple rain equals 58. Queen of England equals 58. You see a name like Mac Miller up on the screen below Vanity. That's Mac Miller, the rapper. He died from a fentanyl overdose like Prince and Tom Petty. All of their deaths have the same pattern in it, as we'll get to. I want to talk more about that in a minute, but Mac Miller equals 58. Again, LeBron winning the finals on the real King James's birthday. The real King James died at age 58. The real King James was a Freemason and a Rosicrucian. In gematria, again, purple rain equals 58. Queen of England, 58. Freemasonry, 58. Rosicrucian, 58. Secret Society, 58. Like I just said, Mac Miller, 58. The list goes on. It's a special number. Hillary's book about why she lost to Trump. It's titled, What Happened? That equals 58. Her book about why she lost the 58th election, the title equals 58. But again, all these things happen in the same year. And don't forget, Trump had his convention in Cleveland right after the Cavs won the championship on the real King James's birthday. And now this year, right after Super Bowl 58, Trump's putting out a Trump Bible. People don't get the King James joke. The real King James dead at 58. Okay. Vanity, the day that she died was again the day of the 58th Grammys. It was also the anniversary of Prince's mother's death. His girlfriend from the time of Purple Rain died on the anniversary of his mother's passing. And remember what day that is, February 15th, the 46th day of the year. Again, in the Bible, a lot of this knowledge comes from the Bible. The word biblical is 58. Again, a traditional gematria based in Hebrew and what's encoded in the original Hebrew text of the Old Testament. But shoot, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, Genesis 46 in the Old Testament about sacrifice. The word sacrifice in English equals 46, a number that comes up a lot around a lot of suspicious deaths, including Vanity's on the 46th day of the year, the day of those Grammys, which foretold something was up with Prince. And then again, after Prince died, people started pointing out that Trump was running for president, and Prince had a song called Black Donald Trump. People wondered if there was a connection. Remember, at Trump's convention in Cleveland, he came out to Queen, We Are the Champions. Queen, We Are the Champions is the song Trump came out to. He got criticism for that. And what's interesting is if you measured from the Queen's birthday, which was also the day that Prince died, until the day Trump came out at the convention, it was 88 days later. Elizabeth equals 88, the name of the Queen. Purple equals 88, the color of royalty. Trump equals 88. Another thing that equals 88 is the word poison. Poison equals 88. And again, a lot of people are dying from overdosing, which is essentially poisoning your body, just putting too much of a toxicity in it for your body to survive it. And again, with them making I saw on CNN they had a big deal up earlier on their front page of their news about it being the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain, and then it just set off a little light bulb in my head about the dark side of it being the 40th anniversary in light of the fate of Prince and artists like Tom Petty and Mac Miller since then supposedly overdosing from fentanyl, as that has become a crisis across the world where it's just skyrocketed since the news broke about Prince. You look at the graph for fentanyl deaths. Remember, fentanyl was approved by the FDA in 1968. If you don't know about the year 1968 and all the plans that went into motion in that year, there's a reason COVID or coronavirus was coined that year. But 1968, the year of years, the year fentanyl was approved by the FDA. Again, throughout history, relatively, barely rising line of fentanyl overdoses. But you look at from the time that Prince died, it's just skyrocketed. And it's funny because 1968 is the year again. World Trade Center construction began in New York. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. Again, coronavirus coined, fentanyl approved by the FDA. War, terrorism, COVID, fentanyl overdoses. Like these are the biggest killers in the world right now, and they all trace back to that year. So again, that's part of it too. But let me show you what I noticed. I don't think I've ever noticed this before, and I'm surprised. I was going back through older work and I couldn't find it. And I was surprised. So if I missed this all this time, from Prince's death to the anniversary of Purple Rain was 97 days, right? 97 days. And again, we did talk about this, how Prince, fentanyl, and death overlap with Gematria 97. Again, Mac Miller dies on September 7th from a fentanyl overdose. Tom Petty dies on the last day of Capricorn from a fentanyl overdose. Capricorn's got the 97 connection too. There's a whole lot more with Tom Petty's death. It's just as wild as Prince's. But 97 is part of all three of these major celebrity deaths from fentanyl in a relatively short period of time as it becomes an epidemic in the nation. But thinking about just how the occult work, purple. I mean, this isn't a put down on purple. Of course, it's a beautiful color, but purple historically is associated with poison. In modern times in the U.S., a lot of us associate that neon green, the Mr. Yuck face, with poison because we grew up with that. But historically, purple is a color to represent poison. Beware. You know, you're in the chemistry lab and you got the purple lid. Watch out. So again, people poisoning themselves, overdosing. We've talked about this so many times. Do you see the gematria overlap? If you're new here, gematria, there's 4 base ciphers of the English language: alphabetic order forwards, alphabetic order in reverse, both orders with numerology. You see how fentanyl equals 97, 38, and 34, like how Prince equals 97, 38, and 34. Again, these numbers are all connected to death and murder. And somehow I blocked out the screenshot. Murder has the 38 as well. I accidentally blocked it out. But anyway, just numbers that are repetitious in suspicious deaths. And then we were talking about this way before fentanyl became this major killer on the scene, with Prince's passing and ever since. But yeah, to realize now, because I think I was overlooking this, that he died 97 days for the anniversary of Purple Rain. And then let me come down to the 40 thing about it being the 40th anniversary. There's something about this too, but right here, the 40th anniversary, the word overdose, 40. And right now, you know, it's just like it's a crazy epidemic, out of control. You do see, hey, case in point about the rituals. We were just talking about all the 38s. Oregon equals 38 like Minnesota. Remember what the Oregon governor did this year on March 8th? 3-8. Oregon 38 like fentanyl. She said they're going to have to change the policy because there's too many fentanyl deaths because they pretty much legalized it in the state. And then that was also the 68th day of the leap year. The Oregon governor's name equals 68, like CIA. It's a big number for a lot of their operations. Opioid is 68. Fentanyl's a very serious opioid, approved in 68. I mean, think about that too. The opioid approved in 68 was fentanyl, the year of years. And remember, that was the year that the book came out from the Yale professor, The Population Bomb, about how something severe had to be done to curb the Earth's population or we'll destroy this place we call home. With regards to the Queen, that 97 was big in the death of Princess Diana. Covered that in the first book I wrote. It's a big number with death. But yeah, there's a few other things here. I'm going to skip that topic because YouTube doesn't like when you talk about it. But yeah, just the 40th anniversary, this crisis that's emerged since Prince's passing, the way that they use celebrity to influence society. I'm going to go back and see exactly when that was, but I told you, when I used to live just north of Seattle in Bothell, Washington, I watched my neighbor's life fall apart because he got hooked to heroin, and I don't know if it was cut with fentanyl, but he became I'm sad to even look. I'm worried that if I look to see if he has an obituary, it went there because it looked like it was getting that bad. But it was just crazy because he was one of these people who out of high school, got a job with the company, worked his way up, became manager, and within weeks of becoming manager, was out partying, and you know, somebody gave him a little H, and then he was just he couldn't. I mean, his whole life became about that. He's shooting up at work. Next thing you know, he's fired from his job. Like literally, I couldn't get him to get out of his front yard. He wanted to hang out in his front yard where he could shoot up because his wife didn't want him in the house. And I was like, I mean, it's sad because he had a kid, but that happened in probably, I want to say, a year, within a year of the Prince thing. And I mean, it just seemed like a lot of stories like that just came out of nowhere. And it's amazing how much the television influences people's behavior. And even a story like that, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a positive story, but it might make somebody just want to get a taste anyway. Oh, that's what Prince was on? Maybe I want to try it out and see if I can not get carried away. The point is, these things are weaponized and used against us, and they are part of a plan. And there is a reason all these things came out in 1968. Again, that was the year of major assassinations, things the CIA was doing in South America. Again, it's just like that administration that was in power at that time, just unleashing a plan of world domination. And we're living out the consequences of it right now. And that's why we've been talking about it nonstop every day, trying to expose how long ago what we're living out was planned. We are living out a planned population control agenda. That's what I'm trying to get to. They want people to hurt themselves, kill themselves. They want people to mutilate themselves so they can't procreate. And you think about it with Prince too. I mean, Prince was a tiny man who wore women's clothes, right? Very talented musician, but in a way, you just kind of look at everything going on right now. It's like, like was I guess that was planting seeds in a way. It didn't seem so carried away though when Prince did it. It wasn't like, I mean, he might have been pushing lines, but it didn't feel like he was really crossing any lines. Some people might beg to differ with that, but I never felt like as a child listening to the music of Prince, the songs that were on the radio, I never thought they were like really a bad influence. I mean, you look at a lot of the music now that's on the radio, it's like, ah. And by the way, just again, how these numbers overlap. You see how Poison and Purple is a perfect overlap in all four base ciphers? And just it's got that 34 in it, like fentanyl, like Prince. Murder's also 34. Suicide's 34. A lot of weird suicide rituals with the number 34 in celebrity world. And it just makes you go, did these people really commit suicide? Did Prince really overdose from fentanyl? Is that just how they market it to the streets before they make it abundant everywhere? And again, it's just like they say the Sinaloa cartels funneled all this fentanyl into the U.S., this deadly fentanyl. And what we just show about that major bust the other day. Again, Sinaloa cartel in Gematria 221, 221 days after the Pope's birthday. Last year, we drove through California, every major city, all the way down to L.A., getting little groups of truth seekers together to go out there during the time of the playoffs and educate the Lakers fans about why Kobe died at age 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age while traveling from Catholic Mass in the season where LeBron wins the finals on Father-Daughter Day, exactly 41 weeks after his birthday. Big numbers with Kobe's career, the city of LA, the king. But on that trip down there, we get the one gentleman who comes out and explains that when he was a child, pretty much all of his family was put away in prison in a major drug bust because he was in a cartel family, and he was a little kid, so some kind of state custody, but 18 you're out. And now he's an adult, and he came out. He said, Zach, the reason I know your work is true, what you're exposing about this Jesuit Catholic thing that's running it, is because that was our distribution points through every major city, the Catholic churches. And then you just see how the Sinaloa cartel bust is perfectly synced with the Pope. And again, we're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. All these major 201 related Jesuit deaths, including recently Trump's ex-wife, 45 years after their marriage. When Prince died, who had the song Black Donald Trump, he died 201 days before the election that year. Eventually the Queen dies in a similar ritual 201 days after her COVID diagnosis. Again, Event 201 was the simulation for that. Yeah, there's so much more to say about all these things, but yeah, it is in a way that the cabal, man, they're the art of war. That there's a creative side to everything they do. Super clever ritual, but kind of rubbing everybody's face in it. And how planned out they are, though, it is something else. It is something else. And again, it frustrates me that for all these years, just so many people that who could help raise awareness about this just choose not to. Shout out to Gematria32. He was just he played a clip from some Joe Rogan broadcast seemingly recently where he's flirting with this idea of letters and numbers. Like he almost wants to share it with his audience. It's like, yeah, why are you not sharing this with your audience? You should have shared this back in 2016 when we called Prince's death. I mean, we called so many things before that, since then. Uh, People need to be aware of this so they can understand what this occult cabal is that sits behind the world of entertainment, that sits behind the news, that sits behind these elections. Again, this knowledge points to who it is. Again, 201 is this very important number to the Jesuit history. And then lo and behold, the Illuminati was founded by a Jesuit, Adam Weishaupt, who even died in history 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. Prince, if Prince's life got shortened, it might have been his Tavis Smiley interview where he was talking about these trails up in the sky and his theories on why that's happening now. You know, Prince is one of the people that noticed all the tic-tac-toe patterns in the sky. I don't know what's wrong with everybody else, but he did talk about that on the Tavis Smiley show. Sometimes I wonder if that might have got him into a little bit of trouble. On my old website, I have tons of posts about Prince, his family, his father's passing, his mother's passing, Johnny Depp's performance in tribute. Just so many things happened with Prince's passing. I wrote about this in my first book as well. My first book, Letters and Numbers, covers a bit of Prince's death. And yeah, it's just sad how many people, since we heard the story about Prince's life being cut short by the very powerful, very addictive opioid, just like how again it's torn apart a lot of people's lives. I think I mentioned a while back, um, a coworker, a sweet lady, her boyfriend for a party, he got something, some kind of drug, but he didn't. It wasn't supposed to be what he thought it was, but it was cut with fentanyl, and he ended up overdosing at the party. And I mean, it is a story that came down through the grapevine, but essentially the story is that he wasn't like that. There's no way he would have touched the fentanyl, but he liked coke and other things. And I mean, you just imagine you're at a party, you're drinking, you're having fun. Somebody has a little something, something. I mean, I could just see how it could happen to a lot of people, but these things are not by accident. There is a legitimate plan that was put into motion long ago, and it seems so subtle, but you see, I mean, it's had a real impact. There are less people here today than there should be, and a lot of them is because of preventable death, whether it was an overdose or just a slower kill where you're eating a toxic diet every day and abusing your body and giving yourself preventable disease and illness that drastically shortens your life. But yeah, I'm pretty sure somehow I never noticed that it was 97 days before Purple Rain. It seems hard for me to imagine that I didn't have that in my notes because we always talked about the major Purple Rain piece with that whole year and Vanity's passing in the 58, but it was right there all along. So yeah, again, R.I.P. Prince, and so another part of me does wonder, like, is there a Celebrity Island? I'd like to think that actually they all get to go to Celebrity Island. I mean, I'd feel bad that they lied to all of us, but if maybe they don't have a choice, and that'd be a happier ending than they're all getting purposefully poisoned or whatever it is they do to them. I mean, for all you guys who need every last thing answered, I mean, just have a little just creativity in your mind based on things that are real. I mean, is it not true that back in the 70s, the CIA gave a congressional testimony? And that doesn't really mean anything. That's bullshit too. But I mean, you can look, it's part of the record. The CIA did give congressional testimony that they had a heart attack gun and could cause people to have a heart attack from distance. I mean, if that's real, I mean, it could explain a lot of celebrity deaths that just came out of nowhere. You've seen that one a lot. Like at a young age, just celebrity's heart just kicked out. I mean, sometimes, yeah, it might be drug abuse, but you look over and over, it's the same very repetitive patterns with the numbers. All right. Also in the news today, Catholic leader sends strong message after drag queens ignite outrage for last super spectacle. If you didn't see this at the opening ceremony, they had drag queens mock the Last Supper. Jesus, the Last Supper before the crucifixion, and there's probably a lot more to this. But the guy who's getting all the attention on social media for standing up to it's a Catholic priest. And notice this guy, this priest, Robert Barron is his name. It almost reminds me of Robber Baron, you know? It almost reminds me of Martin Luther and what he said about, um, oh my goodness, I am missing a word from my vocabulary right now that I need. Oh boy, I must be getting amnesia. I can't think of the word that Martin Luther. He was so mad what the Catholic Church was doing, essentially making people pay a fine so they can get back into heaven. But yeah, that there's a lot of understanding that back then the Catholic Church was like putting together the naughty house for the boys to go sin at, so then they can come back to the church and pay the church some good money for their sins. And then what they don't realize is the Catholic Church is running the naughty house. They're collecting there. They're collecting for the word I can't think of, the fine for your sins. But yeah, don't forget from Martin Luther penning the 95 Theses to the Jesuits being created August 15th, 1534 was 201 months later. And it's just like when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on the 95th day of the year, like the 95 Theses, the nation's first major gun control came in 68, 201 days later. But yeah, anyway, back to this thing. This thing right here about this priest, who's the big hero for the televised mocking of the Last Supper by drag queens. Notice it was the 251st day of his age that this happened, July 26th. That's the 54th prime number, right? And 54 is huge with the Jesuits. And again, where were the Jesuits created? They were created in Paris, France, where this mocking happened. The Jesuit headquarters in Italy is at the Church of the Gesù, Building 54, their international headquarters. They now serve Rome. They started in France, but they've served Rome since 1540. But notice the Last Supper, Jesuit order, just happens to have the same gematria. The guy who's the hero, who's getting the media attention, who's getting all the social media attention. You know, he's probably got more money pouring into his church than ever. 251st day of his age, again, 54th prime. Paris got that 72, the home of the Jesuits. First Jesuit pope is Pope Francis, like the Jesuits from France. He became Pope March 13th, 2013, the 72nd day of the year. Again, 72 names of God in Kabbalah, 72 demons of Goetia, 72 demons in the Goetia. I always forget the part of the 72 with Jesus in the New Testament, but it's there as well. And yeah, just in terms of it being about religion and kind of picking on a religion and creating religion divisiveness at the time of this global gathering. Again, the cabal is always figuring out a way to cause, a little tension between the Abrahamic religions. Remember, it was 72 that the terrorists, supposedly Black Sunday, the Palestinian group, attacked Munich, the Munich Olympics in Germany, where the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati, and where Martin Luther penned the 95 Theses in Germany. Adolf, who modeled his order after the Jesuits. Hitler's another 72 word for the record. But yeah, also that terrorist attack was on September 5th. It began 9/5, like the Jesuits' original mission was to counter the 95 Theses, and they were recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. Yeah, I bet if you look, there's a lot more to this Last Supper mocking than that. Um, but yeah, and just Harrison Butker's a part of it. Remember, the Chiefs beat the 49ers in Super Bowl 54 and Super Bowl 58. Super Bowl 58 was the 54th of the modern era. They were both in tribute to Joe Montana. Both games were about 19. Joe Montana wore 19 for the Chiefs. Joe Montana equals 54, Catholic educated. And we talked about the ritual they did with Harrison Butker earlier this offseason. Just same type of pattern. It really is. It's the same stuff over and over. And by the way, just like if you're like going, where do they even come up with the idea for drag queens to mock the New Testament Christianity? Literally in gematria, drag queens equals New Testament. And again, you have to realize the way the cabal plays the game. It's not like that's really an important fact. It's not like, oh, does that mean the New Testament's the same as drag queens? No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying the way these people play their little game, that's how they like to bring it together. They like to have a little number ritual to how they bring their key elements in their story together. It's like if you write stories, you brainstorm, you come up with characters, plot ideas, the way conflicts can arise, characters can disappear, appear. You come up, you brainstorm these ideas, right? Imagine, you mock this Kabbalistic knowledge. You make a mockery of humanity every day using all these different spiritual teachings. It's like you just resent the world and you love hoarding the knowledge and being aware of things they have no idea about. It's just it's like you look at the way this cabal operates. It is something like that. It's like how Skull and Bones, that powerful fraternity out of Yale that's put so many people in high places, including the Oval Office. They say that they're a group of practical jokesters and pranksters. And again, they're modeled after the Bavarian Illuminati. Remember, they're created 2 years after. They call themselves Order 322. Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit, died on the 322nd day of the year, 2 years before that order was created. And again, they're modeled after that, but they're also get their symbolism from the Templars. And Templars had the Crusades and brought back all the knowledge from the Holy Lands. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot more important decode to do there, I'm sure, yet. But that was just the first thing that jumped out to me when I looked at the most recent storyline and said, well, how perfect. How perfect. JD Vance, they've been making this point since Trump picked him that JD Vance used to be a major opponent of Donald Trump, said a lot of not so nice things about him. And now today, the New York Times, I guess, published a whole bunch of his emails and text messages. And again, the people should be going like, wait a minute, how did the New York Times like get access to all of these things? But again, this age of the Patriot Act where just tons of information is accessible. Anyway, New York Times publishing all these things that he supposedly said that were very negative about Trump, including calling him morally reprehensible, which I think that's totally true. And again, just a guy that just totally worships himself and has no problem going in front of the cameras and lying to people and leading them into the next destruction of their nation, like he did in the time of COVID. No real leadership. Real leadership would have said, nope, we're not going along with the Switzerland banker agenda. We're not going along with the Event 201 simulation. This is America, land of the free, home of the brave. What'd you say? Some people died in the nursing home? Doesn't sound too scary. If you're worried about that, stay home, end your business. If you're so scared of the 99.9% survival, you as an American have the right to shut down your business and end your way of life because you're so scared. That's the speech I would have gave if I was the president of the United States. That was the one I was giving every day. I mean, I was literally out on the streets of cities all over giving that same speech. That's what a real leader would have done. We were out in front of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation March 13, 2020, in the freezing ass cold 2 days after the supposed pandemic was declared, explaining to people what Bill Gates had said a decade earlier and why people needed to know about that and how it fit in with that exact moment. Again, people still don't know about his innovating to zero speech or his decade of vaccines that he pledged in Davos just days from it. It's crazy. It's crazy how most people still don't know about the Event 201 simulation. The only two CDCs in the world that participated were the US's and China's. Trump's in Switzerland at the World Economic Forum the day COVID's confirmed in the US from China, gloating about his trade deal with China, saying the world will never be the same again. 222 days from his birthday, when Wuhan coronavirus equals 222 and World Economic Forum equals 222 and coronavirus order out of chaos equals 222. New York, 222. Remember, that's where the simulation was. And from 9/11 to the pandemic being declared was exactly 222 months, and on and on and on. And then the same ritual they do with breaking out Russia, Ukraine. But yeah, this JD Vance thing, the New York Times doing this today. It's interesting because today's date numerology is 78. The New York Times equals 78, like Jesuit. It's ran by a Jesuit. Remember, Butler equals 78. And after the Butler shooting at Trump, he went to Milwaukee, where Teddy Roosevelt was shot in history on October 14th, the day leaving 78 days left in the year. And JD Vance became the youngest nominee since Teddy Roosevelt. And Yeah, there was just a headline the other day the mainstream had up about how Trump idolizes McKinley, and McKinley's who was shot that gave us Teddy Roosevelt. It's just, and don't forget, with regards to the whole 78 and Trump being 78 years old, plus the shooting being 78 days after Melania's birthday and Stormy Daniels equaling 78. And again, just Trump in 78. The top cards in the tarot deck are Trump cards, and there's 78 cards in the tarot deck. But yeah, this JD Vance thing, it just, they gotta, the New York Times has to do this big publishing of all of his personal messages about how much he didn't like Trump. Like, oh, how awkward is that? Yeah, and he'll continue to say that, that was the past. So it's like, I mean, in a way, yeah, it's cool that you can change your opinion, but in a way, isn't it weird? It's like that guy's now the VP nominee. It's one guy that just absolutely hated his guts not that long ago. Again, all this stuff is just to play games with everybody and just give somebody else to talk about around the water cooler and do just like what I was just doing. It's like at the end of the day, all that amounts to nothing. What people need to see through is how corrupt this whole process is, how sold out it is, what puppets these people are. People need to understand Trump literally does not care about them. People so emotionally invested in this man who literally does not give two shits about them. If you didn't see my Twitter post about the furniture store Cons going out of business after 134 years. Do you remember how Trump said he likes to seduce women by taking them to the furniture store? Cons, the furniture store, after 134 years, and Make America Great Again equals 134, like Melania, like a million different little things with Trump. A lot of 134s, that guy over the years. House of Cards, the hit show about the presidency when he was running for president. But yeah, check that story out if you missed that one from the past week too. I don't have a post up on that right now, but it came into my head. It's like, I don't think that's an accident right now. The week of Kamala, Cons, the furniture store, 134 years. Like, what are the odds? But I don't think even most people are putting any of this together. I don't think they're thinking like that. I don't think they're like, they don't know the meaning of 134. They're not thinking, they don't even remember Donald Trump and Billy Bush on the bus. This whole 78 thing, Kamala. Notice what day she's expected to announce her running mate by August 7th, just days after Obama's birthday. That's 3 days after Obama's 63rd birthday. But that date can be written 7/8 or 8/7. The 78 we just went over. It's all over with this election. And don't forget, Biden took office at age 78. Don't forget, Beau Biden died at 46 years before Joe Biden became number 46 at age 78. But when Beau Biden died at 46, it was synced with the Pope. Remember, he died 201 days before the Pope's birthday. First Jesuit Pope, first living sweet 201. But the Pope was 78 when that happened. Jesuit 78. The 87's interesting because of Black history. The word slavery is 87. The name Martin's 87. We've talked about a number of rituals in the past, looking back at Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. Things they've done with Black Lives Matter, paying tribute to that 87. And slavery the small way is 42, like Kamala, like how they questioned her blackness on the 42nd day of the year. That was, go back to those headlines from February 11th, 2019, the anniversary of her mother's death. Of course, the torch just got passed to Kamala 42 months after Biden and her took office. Again, number all over Black history. Slavery, Tuskegee, Jackie, and a million other things related to Black history equal 42, including February, the month of Black History Month. The whole thing about, I'm thinking more about this, you guys. Look how perfect this could be. If Biden does not finish his term and Kamala becomes number 47, right? She could end up losing the election to Trump, and he would become number 48. That's interesting because, again, Cleveland equals 48 like Donald Trump. And again, Grover Cleveland was the only split-term president ever in U.S. history. Trump could become the second. But the president between the Cleveland administrations, that last name was Harris. There was a Harris between the two Cleveland administrations. Cleveland was number 22. Harris was number 23, and then Cleveland became president again, number 24. Like here we are in 2024 with this little riddle going on. So again, you go back and listen to the Gerald Ford thing. Gerald Ford said October 18th, 1989 at the Herbert Hoover Library, answering a little girl's question that someday we'll get the first female president, not when she's voted in, but when an old man dies. And again, him saying at the Herbert Hoover Library matters because Kamala was born the same day that Herbert Hoover died, in the year of the Civil Rights Act. And you know what else? I did this in my head actually while I was driving today, and I forgot to even come home and check it. But the Civil Rights Act was signed on 7/2/1964. Lyndon Johnson. Kamala was born October 20th, 1964. Again, she's got the same birthday as Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was just passing the torch at the Olympics. Yeah. Okay, my math was right. 110 days later. Isn't this crazy? Kamala could be the first female president, also the first black woman president, shortly after the first black female Supreme Court justice. Again, 56 years after the first black female senator when she took the White House at age 56, just like Biden and Obama won the 56th election when Black Lives Matter is 56. But president equals 110. President is 110. So Kamala, again, not only was she born the day Herbert Hoover died, but again, she was born 110 days after the Civil Rights Act. And she could be number 47. And again, Donald Trump alone's 47, but Donald Trump is 48. And just like where he had his convention in 2016, the year Prince died, Cleveland, 48. List of U.S. presidents, just so you don't have to take my word for it. Some people, there are people be like, I don't believe it. I don't believe that there was a Harris between Cleveland. Like, well, can you look it up for me, please? It's not something you actually have to believe in. You just got to look it up. Here, let's scroll down. Number 22 should be Cleveland, if I know what I'm talking about. Okay, there he is. Grover Cleveland's number 22. Benjamin Harrison. I was a little bit off. It's Harrison. It's not exactly Harris. It's close, though. Benjamin Harrison. My bad, you guys. I was a little bit off. Good thing we double-checked. Benjamin Harrison. But then Grover Cleveland back is number 24. The Gerald Ford thing, though, he says that after we get the first female president, there won't be many more men in the office. Like he's seen this, like it's like he quickly saw the script. He's like, whoa. Didn't see many men there after that one. I mean, it's possible that it could be Donald Trump for the Grover Cleveland tribute. And remember, Cleveland is another 78, just like Trump's age right now. But yeah, just the scripts we're living out. I would die for you. He dies 33 years later, does Prince. That song was recorded in 83, the same year the police did Murder by Numbers, where killing's the sport of the elected. And it's simple as ABC 1, 2, 3. Kamala's mom, dead on the 42nd day of the year, might become the first black female president when 42 is all around black history. Butler, Pennsylvania. Did you realize that's a town of 13,000? The population's 13,000. Just been talking about all the 13s. 13 days after the shooting, Trump says he's going back. When he pledged, or he pumped his fist in the perfect photo op under the 13 stripes on the 13th, 13 weeks from the establishment of the Federal Reserve, whose original mission was to, stop the counterfeiting of the dollars that got the 13s all over them. Again, Donald Trump with the same birthday as the flag. In Gematria, flag equals 26. On the 26th of the month, he says he's going back. Again, on 26/7, he says he's going back. Philadelphia is the 267 area code. The flag was sewn in Philly by Betsy Ross. Betsy Ross equals 101 like Philadelphia. 101 is the 26 prime. Big story, 101 days before the election. And again, just how a woman is leading the way in that photo. Days later, it's Trump versus Kamala. Joe's out of the way. But yeah, the update is the town's even 13,000 people. Okay, and I did put out a shorter video on this morning. Again, I laughed when I saw that CNN said Chinese people are looking into this. I mean, American people were looking into this the day of the inauguration. We were some of those people that were covering this online. And again, I thought we had one of the more important videos put out on it. If you go back and look at what we were saying, we were projecting into the future to pretty much this exact moment. But I was pointing out how Kamala on Inauguration Day had the same outfit on as Lisa Simpson, who's the first president of the United States in the cartoon. The first female president of the United States is Lisa Simpson. And anyway, that episode of that Simpsons came out 152 days after Kamala's birthday. Kamala Devi Harris 152, like Joe Biden, like how President's Day fell on 15/2 when they took office, like how Trump skipped the inauguration. He was the first in 152 years to do so, and on and on and on. We had this date circled this year, the 152nd day of the year in 2024. Back then, we had this circled because we said, look, Joe's going to be 81, like he supposedly got 81 million votes, and Kamala's going to be 59, like they won the 59th election, this important number in Black history. Let's watch what happens on the 152nd day of 2024 when she's 59 and he's 81. Again, Michelle Obama's mom died that day. And again, she's 60 right now. Kamala's about to turn 60. Kamala started dating Willie Brown. That's how she got on the scene when he was 60. It's the 60th election upcoming. Remember, Kamala has that Gematria 123 like Freedom, the Beyonce song. And again, Joe Biden stepped down for her 123 days after Willie Brown's birthday. There's a Bill joke in there somewhere, or there's a Bill Clinton joke probably somewhere in there. They always used to say Bill Clinton couldn't control his Willie. Kamala rode Willie Brown's Willie. She's going down like Hillary to Trump. Just all these little parallels they got. It was lock her up. Now it's nearly lock him up. She's the prosecutor. He's the felon. These scripts were written long ago. Kamala was born into the script. They say, well, aren't you a lucky little girl? You don't know what it means to be born 110 days after the Civil Rights Act, little girl. We got a script written. No. We got Tupac's song Changes coming out 10 years before Obama. Hope and change. The lyrics in the song, we still ain't seen a black president. They played on the radio like crazy. Tupac's been dead for 2 years. Who's getting all the money? And don't forget how they announced his mother's death on the real Machiavelli's birthday. That was ice cold. That was right after. Oh my God! How did we almost not talk about that? That they announced Tupac's mother's death right after Prince's death on the real Machiavelli's birthday, when Machiavelli wrote The Prince, and The Prince is based on Caesar Borgia, where White Jesus comes from, and Tupac died on Caesar Borgia's birthday. And let's not forget that Tupac got shot on September 7th, 9/7, coming back to that whole 97 death pattern, which goes with the fentanyl. But yeah, also in the news, Billy Joel, Billy Joel, Mr. New York, Mr. Madison Square Garden. I forgot to put the abbreviation here, but notice how Billy Joel's 39, like New York's 39. Again, everything in New York is 39, including MSG, the abbreviation for Madison Square Garden. M's the 13th letter, S is the 19th, G's the 7th, added up 39. But again, the four base ciphers, alphabetic order, forwards and backwards with numerology. New York, NY, New York, NYC, NY, they all got the 39 connection. The United Nations, there's a 39 floors tall. 1,039s with New York's history. The first governor, George Clinton, born on the same day as the state, July 26, 1739. Billy Joel did his last show in Madison Square Garden on the eve of July 26th, and then this was a huge focus on July 26th, all in the news, again, on New York's birthday. Billy Joel, this very New York man. And just to remind you about this post from years ago, this is my old website. This post is about what Billy Joel did for his concert during the time of the eclipse at Madison Square Garden. He wore the patch like you might have had to wear in World War II times. And again, it was just, he did this ritual on the date of the eclipse, that crazy eclipse that we had, and remember how they did Chris Cornell dirty that year, who had the song Black Hole Sun, and then Chester Bennington died on his birthday, supposedly also hung himself, and that was, again, the 201st day of the year, like Black Hole Sun equals 201, the big hit song was Soundgarden. But anyway, that was the year of that eclipse, and eclipse has that gematria too, but again, just a reminder that the numbers behind the rituals, the dates, that the numbers are important. The celebrations of New York is important. And by the way, because we started looking at composite numbers, um, something really interesting about New York being founded as a state, as the 11th state, July 26, 1788. The first governor was George Clinton, and it became a state on his 49th birthday. And 49 is an interesting number. In Gematria, America equals 49, Scottish equals 49, as in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Catholicism is another 49, but 49 is the composite numbers, are numbers that can be divided. So 7 goes into 49, for example, so it's a composite number. But 49 is the 33rd composite number. And again, New York is 39 land. If you run an inverse, New York is 33. So the first governor, his 49th birthday, New York's recognized as a state. It's hard to imagine he wasn't connected to Masonry. Almost everyone in American politics was. It's been I mean, a lot of these secret societies are the networks of the power elite. That's another thing people need to understand. Not everybody in Freemasonry is in a powerful secret society. Anyone can join and become a Blue Lodge member. But these powerful people who are the ones whose name goes down in the history books, who are the governors and the presidents. Anyhow, think about how Scottish equals 49. The highest degree of the Scottish Rite is 33. 49 is the 33rd composite number. So there is definitely something to these composite numbers. Again, we just had the NBA Finals with the 1,078 rituals, and 2 of the 4 wins for the Celtics, they scored 106 points, which is the 78th composite number. And the finals ended 106 days after Tatum's birthday, or you could also say on his 107th day of his age. But again, those finals also started on the Celtics' 78th birthday. So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit of new information on understanding more why it matters so much that he was the first governor in the state. Again, having the same birthday, and yeah, there's probably still something even greater to understand. There's always more to understand, but that is one thing I'd been overlooking all these years: the relationship between 49 and 33, and I mean, it really does fit. Scottish 49. I mean, you read the story here; they even have to mention the story and how they have to bring up 49th and 50th streets in Billy Joel's story. Okay, so yeah, that was also in the news. This was also in the news, and you know what? I think that there's an even more updated headline that I thought I saw, that maybe they said Iran attacked somewhere in Israel today. Did that happen? That this was in the news this morning. You know, nobody even blinks an eye at these stories. We had stories like this for 20 years in our wars with Iraq and Afghanistan, where we accidentally blew up this school or this hospital or this wedding, or bad intelligence and blew up this little flea market. I mean, there were just stories like this nonstop, and I just thought, God, how don't more like Americans care? Like, why aren't like more people just outraged about what our tax money's going to and what we're doing? I mean, do we understand how this works when we're brought into a nation and we're made to just go along with its wrongdoing? I mean, is there a spiritual penalty for this, being part of a nation where you pay money and they use your money to create death and destruction all around the world, and then just shrug their shoulders when it's bad intelligence? I mean, I'm still not convinced that any of these supposed darker complected people from that region of the world had anything to do with 9/11. But yeah, just it's the same thing now with Israel, and then they say they're doing exactly what the U.S. did after our after 9/11, and I'd agree. So yeah, you guys are doing the exact same thing. I mean, it's like deja vu, and it is amazing that and again, if you were opposed to this, you were shamed by the media. That happened to you after 9/11. That happened to you after Israel. So it is the same thing. But yeah, I mean, how can you be a human being and not go? I mean, okay, how many more people need to die? Like, when will there be enough death? When is there enough vengeance here? I mean, how do how everybody knows they were telling us this at the beginning of like the wars once we went over there. They're like, some intelligence says that going and waging these kind of wars will actually create many more generations of terrorists because they'll be upset by what happened to their fathers and brothers and family and mothers and sisters. It's like, yeah, exactly. So going over, you can't really fight terrorism. It's just like going to create more terrorists. And then it's like you got like mainstream TV making shows showing at the beginning like an American flyover blows up a town. Little boys survive, but their whole family's dead. And then the stories about them growing up and how they grew up to be terrorists to fight America. It's like I hate how they market the game. They tell us the game, but then they play the game. And then if you're one of the people who stands up against the game, you get shamed. It's like everybody else just goes on. Anyway, let me do a quick web search. Did I see a headline today about Iran attacking Israel? You think that would be a bigger thing, but I almost want to say that they were trying to report something like that earlier. Some kind of counterattack. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anything right now, so hopefully that's not the case. Um, the initial reporting of at least 30 dead. I mean, what stands out to me, just in light of the number rituals, it's a Saturday that this happens. This attack was on a Saturday. Apparently, people at the school on Saturday, but Saturday is named after Saturn, and Saturn has the 30-year return. So 30 is a number associated with Saturn. And then, another interesting word in gematria that equals 30 is Bible. Many people think that the Old Testament's astrotheology and the God of the Old Testament's actually Saturn. And Jesus' ministry begins at 30. Has a little spiritual connection. And again, just more stories to stir up the Abrahamic religions. Essentially, Jewish people bombed Muslim people today at a school. And by the way, today is exactly 42 weeks after the war began. Just war has that gematria of 42, just a escalatory story. Tomorrow will be exactly 42 weeks after Netanyahu declared war. He waited till Sunday, October 8th to declare war on Hamas. Hamas equals 42 like Iran as well. So yeah, I could have sworn Fox News threw something out like Iran had retaliated and attacked. Sometimes Fox is a news network that will throw out a lot of stories and then retract or not cover them again because they're always trying to pull people in with the latest breaking. But Hamas 42, Iran 42. And Iran's also 30, like Hamas is also 30, just like how they said at least 30 dead. I guess that's probably part of it as well. Okay. Let me see if there's any other breaking news, and if not, we can wrap it up there. Or hold on, there is something right here. Deadly strike in Golan. Golan Heights is they were doing something for Trump in his last year of his presidency, like he was gifted some land in the Golan Heights. So okay, there was something today. All right, hold up. Deadly strike in Golan Heights raises fears of major escalation. So you think about this, you guys. Think about all right. Here I thought I was tripping because I thought this is what I saw earlier. But let's see what they're reporting. But understand right away, exactly 42 weeks after the war began. By the way, Saturn equates to 42 as well in gematria. But again, so does war, so does World War, so does Jesuit, so does Freemasons, Zionism. All these words have gematria 42. Biblical number, how long the beast rules 4 months. The New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. New Testament has that gematria 42 like math. The New Testament begins with Matthew and the 42 generations to Jesus. But yeah, 42 weeks into the war, just such a predictable number. At least 12 people, including children, were killed when multiple rockets hit a village in the Golan Heights Saturday in an attack described by Israel as the deadliest again since October 7th. Again, the anniversary of us invading Afghanistan after 9/11. That's the day leaving 85 days left in the year. Templar equals 85, like they waged the Crusades against the Muslims. Military equals 107, like we write the date 10/7. Ritual sacrifice equals 107. And it seems like that's what a lot of these casualties are: bombs on neighborhoods and hospitals and schools. And anyway, Israel said it had identified approximately 30 projectiles crossing from Lebanon. Oh, so 30 projectiles after 30 dead. Okay. Crossing from Lebanon into Israeli territory, and blamed the Iran backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah for the barrage. The incident has raised fears of a major escalation in the long running conflict along the Israel Lebanon border, with some Israeli politicians demanding retaliation, even though Hezbollah has said it firmly denies firing the rockets. And again, I tend to agree with all these groups, right? We know the cabal, the thing that's manipulating and stirring up problems, is the one that operates by this perfect number code. And again, there's been so many times where we got stories like this, and then 24 hours later, they're like, oh, actually, it was this that happened. It was actually, I remember once upon a time, it was Russia attacked Poland. It was like a big tribute to 39, like the year Hitler invaded Poland. But then 24 hours later, it was, oh, actually, it was Ukraine's anti-missile defense system that failed, and the rockets from the system landed in its own territory, caused the damage, the deaths. And again, that still didn't. It's just like, it looks like they really just did the ritual to pay tribute to Poland in 39 and World War, and just keep teasing us. Again, that's a biblical thing: war and rumors of war. And the Jesuits who wrote the text Art of War put a little code. If you've never read Art of War, you really should read that book. It's not that long, but it has a lot to do with, it's better to defeat your enemy without even having to fight the war, and you can essentially do that by tricking them. I feel like it says it all, really, when you read these things. You're like, yeah, they're tricking us every day into like giving up our rights and liberties and going along with this BS. And it's like the cabal's making sure this group of people have landmines to put all over the road, and then they make the U.S. troops just drive these patrols on the road so they blow up. They need this to keep going on so it can just keep happening. It's like they're funding all sides of all things. It's like, until people are wise enough to not play the game, the cabal's going to keep getting people to kill each other because they allowed themselves to be played. Okay, that's what this work's been all about this whole time: getting people to see through the matrix of propaganda and programming and all the things you shouldn't fall for and get manipulated by. In addition to the 12 deaths, at least 29 people were injured in the attack in Majd al-Shams. Um, I'm not sure if it's on this website or I have two websites. This is my newer one. I'm going to see if it's on here or my old post, but I remember there was something about Trump and the Golan Heights. Israel approves funding for new Trump Heights settlement on Donald Trump's 74th birthday, June 14th, 2020. And of course, Jewish has the Gematria 74, like Masonic, like occult, like energy, like English, like Gematria, and the list goes on. Jesus from Judea. Jesus is another 74 word. The Society of Jesus. Again, Trump, Jesuit, educated at Fordham. Trump just said Kamala's going to lead us into World War III. Let's just measure real quick from Trump's 74th birthday, June 14th, 2020. He was born in 46, like the second Bush and Clinton. Bill Clinton, that is. God, isn't that wild, you guys? You see how many weeks later it is? It's 214 weeks since they did that, and days, but 214. Again, Donald Trump, there's so many 214s with him. The whole thing with the assassination was all 214. But then remember, just mega is the highest degree of the Church of Satan. Again, it was on the Church of Satan's 45th birthday, April 30th, 2011, that Trump was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner when Obama joked that Trump would become the next president 45 days before Trump's birthday. Make America great again. Again, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. The first tenet of Satanism is to worship yourself, which is pretty much all Trump does. He's always bragging about himself and saying me. Pay attention to how often Trump uses the word me. Me, 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 me. You know? But yeah, just Trump has all the parallels with Reagan too. Also ran on mega. Ronald Reagan equals 214, like the Republican Party. JFK shot in the 214 area code. Dead at Parkland. The Parkland shooting on 214, the 45th day of the year when he was president. They started tearing down the school on his 78th birthday when Kennedy's 78. But yeah, the shooting was just 214 days after Pennsylvania's state's birthday. Biden's from Pennsylvania. The nation was founded in Pennsylvania. So yeah, isn't that wild that from when they gave this area to Trump and Golan Heights, that to this thing with this big escalation in the war today, exactly 42 weeks after it began, what we've always called the war number, always pointing out a million. I mean, you guys, we could go back to posts that are so old on my old website about Iran in 42 and just the continued fear mongering of a greater war with Iran that's been going on for, I mean, like my entire lifetime. And again, the CIA overthrew Iran in the 50s. The CIA overthrew Iran in the 50s. Did we really ever give Iran back, or is it just a puppet boogeyman state? Again, doesn't it make sense if it's just like Eisenhower warned about when he left office about the military industrial complex? Imagine a nation that CIA overthrows other nations so that they can use that government for a million different purposes, including funding terrorism, because they need terrorism to be a threat to fund other plans to dominate other parts of the world. Again, for people who don't understand, after look this up, it's all true. After 9/11, when we went into Afghanistan and killed the Taliban had like destroyed the poppy crop in Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is the biggest producer of that plant in the world because well, it's a massive territory for one, but just also the region and the climate. It's like where poppy thrives. And that's where the opioids come from. We went in there and killed the Taliban, brought all the poppy production back, used U.S. soldiers to guard the poppy field production, opioid crisis all over the place that's escalated to fentanyl. I mean, like people are worshiping these ass, like little asshole clowns that we get, including Donald Trump. And it's like, these people have never said anything like that. And that's what everyone should be saying at this day and age. There's so much evil and wrongdoing going on, and it's not getting called out. It's not getting stopped. It's just business as usual. No one's even talking about it. They got everyone all distracted with the border. And that's not right either, but it's just again, I'll make the point, you guys. You probably had the same thing going on in your tone after COVID. All of a sudden, nobody had enough employees. Businesses weren't running. You'd go into a place, they couldn't do it because the employee didn't show up, or they got to forever wait that's not reasonable. I mean, this is going on all over. Just people needed help, work. This town I live in now, it's crazy how many places you go into, and the people working there almost don't speak a lick of English, but they can do the job. They know what you need. And in a way, I mean, I'd rather have a society where, I can speak the language. It is important to have but I'm just saying, like, everything that is going on is by design. That they want us all mixed up, and they probably do want to flood the country with a lot of more subservient Catholic types, because typically Catholics bow down to authority. I mean, people south of the border, man, Catholic Church conquered those nations. And it's funny how people are so devout to the religion that conquered their ancestors. I guess that's the way, go along to get along. Okay, but yeah, this Golan Heights thing, or yeah, just exactly 42 weeks after the war began. Um, I'm gonna have to look more into the history of the Golan Heights. Uh, as always, though, I got to start with the numbers. Let me just see if anything jumps out. The 42 weeks later is the big one. Yeah, there's a number of things that could be said about these numbers, but 55 is a big military one. There's a reason the war officially began on the 55th day of the year in Russia, Ukraine. Military's 55 in the same cipher. Satan's another big 55 word, and of course the whole synagogue of Satan and Trump with the Church of Satan. And yeah, I'll have to look more into this and do a proper presentation, because I just caught wind of this when I was, like I was saying, I thought I caught wind of this just before I was going live to talk about the Prince anniversary. Always so much to keep up with in this world that they're always trying to make just seem crazier and crazier through the programming on the screens. Again, it's these psychopaths who are escalating the majority of the problems in the world. Most people just want to get up each day, have a nice day, eat something nice, have some nice laughs, have a nice time with the people you want to be around. Again, it's the psychopaths at the top that got to keep people just in this unnecessary state of fear, paranoia, anxiety, and they're making a lot of money off their big pharma doing it too. But yeah, just you realize every day they're just the perfect operations, and you see that it's lies, because it's always like this. People are always denying, no, we didn't do that. Don't blame us for that. We surely didn't do that. And again, for people who don't know what to think, I mean, pay attention to the numbers. Why is it the same numbers over and over and over? Okay. We'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. Again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. And have a good rest of your day. Till next time, True Seeker.